Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 565, recorded live on Sunday, July 14th. I'm your host, Patrick. I'm back. Had a week off, then had 2 weeks off because Arcot very generously hosted the show last week. Great job, sir. Thank you very much. Really appreciated not only for him to step in and do that for me and give me a week off on a weekend that just wasn't going to work, but also for all the listeners and giving very positive feedback to him as well. I know he was a little nervous taking on something like this. It's a big deal. This week, we have another podcast person from DDO Players News, Draculetta, who has forgotten how to use the mute button.
Having me back yet. Hold on.
You're kind of cutting it in and out there.
Yep, there we go. That was totally my. That's what happens when you unplug your mic. See, that is what a podcast professional does. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, we did do a sound check beforehand.
Well, we did, and it was working fine.
Yeah.
But see, I unplugged my mic, so there you go. Pro podcasting tip for everybody out there: if you're on a podcast, don't unplug your mic.
Yeah, figure out your sound settings beforehand, and the only thing you should adjust after the fact is volume control.
Yeah,
right?
Well, I kind of reached over. Anyway, how's it going, Patrick?
It's going pretty good. And on the topic of volume control, if you ever kind of doing stuff like this, pro tip, actually listen to it. If you can, record a little segment beforehand and listen to it. I don't do that every week anymore. I just kind of make my new adjustments afterwards. But there's a really weird thing, especially with OBS. There's a weird thing, it's got meters, which is great, and that's what I kind of watch, but there's not a direct one-to-one correlation between the two, between, whoever my guests are and me. So I'm always kind of, having to, you get, after 250 episodes, I've kind of got it more of a handle on what the meters are and where they are and stuff like that, but it's a little tricky sometimes. So, let's see. This week's screenshot. Death Blades harness the light from the sky in the 423rd screenshot of the week. Thanks, Dark Adaptation, for sending this. Yeah, it's a really good screenshot. And to be honest, I should have paid a little bit more attention to it here and framed it better. Because I was in a hurry and I didn't really do that. But it is a nice, very nice screenshot. Very well done. I think Runes of Perez would be kind of my guess, but I'm not actually sure if that's true or not. It does feel Ravenlofty.
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure it's Ravenloft, I think, because of the lightning.
I was looking at the trees around it, it's very...
It's that there's a couple places where they have there's that big lake in Ravenloft, and it kind of looks like he might be standing by water too, because you can kind of see the clouds reflecting down off maybe. So I guessed Ravenloft, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's
Ravenloft
awesome
would be
screenshot.
It might just be the Explorer area, actually. It's probably just a general Explorer area somewhere. But yeah, it's a very nice screenshot. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOCast.com. You can also, we're hosted by CyberAirs, the awesome podcast-hosted network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next weekend. And you can set up to it by following us on social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com. We also have a calendar there. Producer's point, this is actually full disclosure, inside baseball, that kind of thing. This is a little bit off the cuff a little bit more when we kind of talking about what we're going to really get into, of talking about Gencon 2019 and kind of looking ahead at that. I had another guest lined up to continue our past lives prioritization series, and someone crashed and took out the power in his neighborhood.
That sucks.
Yeah, awkward. It was really inconvenient because I had the whole, I had it kind of lined up and everything. But so kind of, Drac was kind enough to jump in today. So should still be good. I think we'll get through this just fine. This is a topic that Draculetta is very knowledgeable on, so we should be fine on that. But let's talk about game news first, for what little there was. There is a new Sharn raid. We've been expecting this for a while. And it hit Lamania this week. It was open for a couple of days. They were looking for feedback and all that kind of stuff. The raid will be titled Project Nemesis, a level 32 legendary raid. So pretty not super surprising there. That's kind of what I think we were all expecting. Anyways, it is it's a cogs. There's a cogs guide located in the test dojo, or was for that. It should be in the same public area as the cogs that Too Hot to Handle is, and all that kind of stuff. There was also I don't want to say a bug, but it was preview. It wasn't quite polished, and there was some text that they had to post outside of it to kind of give an idea or hints of the mechanics, as it were.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. It was just a text thing that Torque posted on the forums. Spoiler warning. Here's some text that's not there that is supposed to help you figure out what you're supposed to do and how the mechanics of the raid work. Raid mechanics, that's kind of a big thing of how they work. So.
Right. Yeah. I like the name though. The name's kind of awesome.
I mean, Too Hot to Handle is still a better name. But yeah.
Well, yeah. But I assume Project Nemesis has something to do with what's going on in the raid. I haven't looked at anything about it, so I have zero knowledge of it.
I didn't get a chance. They weren't super talkative about it, and I didn't really dive in too much into. I tend to kind of avoid spoilers in that regard, just because I kind of like to not have them and go into the raid and kind of experience it a little bit more than having it all figured out beforehand. So. But there you go. That was this week's news. We're definitely in a low news state, which is typical. Usually kind of ebbs and flows a lot. And they kind of, even as Update 43 kind of gets closer, I would say that we're probably not going to have a ton of news in that regard, since probably the big change for Update 43 was already announced in the Epic Destiny changes and stuff like that, so which we've already covered. So we'll get probably another pass at that and some new information and stuff, but I'm not really expecting a whole lot of news until Update 43 starts hitting Lomania. And even then, it might really just be, hey, the things we knew about are happening, and there's some new quests. So we'll see. Bonus days, 25% crafting boost now through today, July 14th. The store sales, you can improve your character, 20% off of select stat tomes and skill tomes, tomes of learning, both heroic and epic, and then also select enhancement trees. The nice thing there is like the skill tomes, you can get up to a +7 skill tome, which I don't think I've ever seen anything higher than a 5 skill tome in the game. So I'm not even sure that they're in the tables that high. So
that's what I was gonna say. Can you even get them in game?
I don't.
I guess if you're really lucky with the roll, maybe
so.
We all know I won't be, but.
Well, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen skill tomes out like just in. Well, I've gotten like 1 to 3 maybe in just random loot, but like
yeah, I've gotten a 3 one time, I think, and that's the highest I've ever seen. So
yeah, I know I've pulled a few, but definitely the daily dice seem to be a more consistent place to get skill tomes. They're usually not that high, anyways. Also summer sales. So this happens every July. We get big deals. You can get 35% off of Supreme +8 tomes. I got to talk to the marketing people here just briefly. It seems a little silly to me, to have 20% off of stat tomes up to +7, and then have 35% off of Supreme +8 tome, which, I mean, just buy the +8 tome, guys. Like, if you can afford it, it's going to be cheaper by far in the long run. So, I don't even think there's upgrade tomes for +8. I think you have to like buy them straight out of the box too. So, anyways, you can also get 50% off of the Druid class. Great time to buy it if you don't. 50% off of +3 use magic device. I assume that's supposed to be a +3 use magic device tome. That's kind of my assumption there.
Yeah, I assume that too.
And then 75% off of the Trial of Archons. So if you don't have that, this is a great time to get that pack. 75% off is as good as you can expect to get.
And that is a fun pack too.
Yeah,
There's some good quests in that pack.
That's the one in Amarath. It's the newer one in Amarath that has Defiler the Just, which is one of my most schizophrenic raids. In that I like the raid, but the execution was kind of really terrible. It's still very laggy, and the end fight's main mechanic just flat out does not work correctly. So it's kind of annoying. And then it also had it was one of those raids that the next big kind of, or next raid series, I think the next stuff was Ravenloft. I might be wrong on that. But like the next set of raid stuff next gear set that started coming out, it was right before a change in thinking of how powerful loot should be. So some of the new stuff that was coming out was better than the raid stuff from the back. So they fixed that a lot. I mean, they did a whole pass and Defy the Justice was one of the ones that got changed with the raid loot. So it's a lot better than it used to be, and it's competitive now, which is great. Let's see. Also, the weekly coupon code, you can get 5 remove disease potions with a coupon code Cure Disease now through July 18th. Yeah, if you're like beggar poor and can't just go buy. This is what I mean. Yay, that's nice. I guess, but it's just gonna take up an inventory slot. Why not just go buy the? Anyways,
free stuff is free stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, sort of.
Yeah, okay.
Look, sometimes the free thing is great. Every once in a while there's an XP potion there. There's all sorts of fun stuff that's in there. And sometimes it's stuff that I know that if I got, I wouldn't use. Case in point, resist potions.
Yeah.
And I know I don't use them because I still have a set that I got like a year ago that I haven't used. So.
Look at that! They're still in my bag. Look at that.
But I'm not always the best person to look at and for that kind of thing. Anyways, I'm not a good metric person. Is what I'm trying to say there. All right, let's talk about community news. The 341st Chronicle. The community spotlights. Have you participated in the 2019 Summer Munchkin Games on Kyber yet? No, even though it's my home server. No, the answer is I have not. What is the Munchkin Summer Games, you might ask? Well, it's basically they run the raids, and what they do is they limit the participants to short characters. So gnomes and halflings is really kind of what it is. Dwarves are too tall, apparently. There's a line somewhere that dwarves are just above, I guess.
I think that's the first time anybody has ever called a dwarf too tall.
Yeah, right? But it's just some fun. It used to be the halfling summer games, and they added gnomes. And it's just running raids. It's nothing crazy, but it's a fun thing. Let's see, there's community spotlight for D&D Splat. We'll talk about that later. The comment for the week: how hot is a Forge Wraith? I mean,
175,000 degrees.
Wow, that seems excessively hot.
I don't know.
Isn't that like, I would think, is that... Whoa, what are you...
Hang on, sorry.
So the at that point, I think you're really just talking about like spontaneous combustion and killing things and stuff like that. How hot is a Forge Wraith? Of course, the other question would be Fahrenheit or Celsius. Too hot to handle. That's how hot a Forge Wraith is.
Better answer.
Yeah, I just had you muted there. Sorry. Cheeky answer, I guess. Guildhall. Tankards Raised. Nice name. The role-playing guild on the Galanda server. The mission is simple: to create a haven for all role players who still linger around DDO or come to the game specifically looking for this style of play. Casual tavern role-playing, pure text role-playing over guild chat or Discord, as well as role-playing questing are all welcome and encouraged here. The guild as a role-play concept doesn't adhere to a strict and specific theme, and we're going for a ye old bunch of oddball adventurers and misfits crossing paths by chance and misfortune. With this guild, there are 2 ways to play: Adventurer and Daredevil. Adventurers are simple. You roleplay, quest, and do whatever you like. Daredevils have a deeper rule set with restrictions and even permadeath elements attached to them. They can quest and roleplay with one another as much as like, however, so they shouldn't be treated as different factions in the guild. Interesting way to do it. So a lot of fun. I'll be honest, like I'm a terrible role player in like in game. Like there's a disconnect there. And to be honest, I'm not a great role player just in general. So as is evidenced by my DM role playing. I usually paraphrase a lot, so.
Well, yeah. I do that when I DM too. I can't roleplay that well.
Yeah, it's like, give me an axe, let me go smash some stuff. That's how
exactly.
I play. Yeah. Combat is where I tend to favor. So, anyways. Fansite news. Bachelor Gore did some questing. We had shout out for DDOCast 564. Again, thank you, Arcot, for hosting last week and producing and all the fun stuff. You can watch, there's DA Day Reaper Con Hibernum. Axel had a video about inventory management tips. Doug Glandauer went to Sharn in Bard Life. DDO Players News got a shout out for episode 229. Damsels of DDO went to the Cogs. Ginger Spice started a Tiefling Druid series. BioBreak had an article on Grey Moon Waiting. Let's see. On the Edge of Evil was on for D&D night on DDO stream. DDO PL folks continued Warforged Adventures, and Psycho Blonde had a new episode of Free DO. A lot of fun stuff going there. Let's talk about D&D night on DDO stream, shall we? Sponsored by Fantasy Grounds.
We don't have to, do we?
mean, I'm excited. I mean, one, it's our week.
Well, okay.
If you're listening to this live, you get to listen to us live in about just over an hour. And you can, the party went, quote, shopping.
Tried to go shopping.
Well, you did go shopping. There were multiple forms of shopping involved.
Well, that's true.
And
some more successful than others.
Some made better choices than others. We'll see how many hands some people have when we come back.
Oh, I see. Ouch. Wow.
I told you I was going to mess with you, friend. No, we had a lot of fun. It's a D&D Cosplay is a really fun group. If you're unfamiliar with what we're even talking about, D&D night on DDO stream, we play Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We've got a bunch of different groups that kind of that rotate through, and we play D&D on Fantasy Grounds, which is a virtual tabletop, which was kind enough to sponsor and give us a little bunch of materials to enable us to do that. You get to watch us play D&D, which maybe that doesn't sound super exciting. You can listen to us play D&D, and hey, you know what? Even if no one's watching, we're having a heck of a lot of fun. So.
Oh yeah, it is an amazing fun group.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. And it's not just our group that's having fun. There's a bunch of other groups that are really enjoying it. But we tried this. I think this has been going on for over a year now. And then last fall, we said, "Hey, this has been popular. People really enjoyed this. People are watching it, and growing a show is kind of cool. But also, a lot of people wanted to play." So we kind of expanded it. Now we do it weekly, and different groups go through. Usually, it's a different group each week, and then we kind of rotate every month. So we've been going D&D Casplat's been going consistently since we kind of really kicked things off. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but I went back and rebranded everything and got everything on. We have a YouTube playlist. You can check them all out, and we made it easy for you to find which group is playing which weeks and stuff. Did some titling and kind of formatting stuff to make it a little easier for some of that stuff. And you're in 3 or 4 groups, I think.
1, 2, 3.
Say at least 3.
Yes.
So
a lot.
Yeah, but we have a lot of fun. It's great.
We do.
Yeah, so you can watch us do that on twitch.tv/DDO stream, or you can check out there's a YouTube playlist through DDO's YouTube channel as well, that kind of stuff. DDOCast Splat will be back this week on Tuesday. Then probably after that we'll be moving to Wednesdays. But we came back, needed to take a couple. It was a holiday. I was literally not in the same state as my computer for a couple of days. So we'll be back this week, continuing to play in Sharn. And let's see, you want to just kind of give a shout out for stuff you're doing here? Because you got DDO Players News and Heaven and Hell.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, the Heaven and Hell is Pine Leaf and I are playing through Sharn, and we called it Heaven and Hell because we came up with this really fun idea that I'm going to play a Tiefling Warlock, and he's playing a ASMR Ranger. So therefore, we got to Heaven and Hell. So we're calling it Sharn Heaven and Hell. We've done 4 episodes so far. 2 of them are up on my YouTube. I have to get the other 2 up. We haven't played for a couple weeks for various reasons, and we're going to take another week off. Well, actually, 2 weeks off. So
It's summer. That happens.
Yeah, exactly. So we will be back though, but yeah, we're having a lot of fun in that, and people are really seem to liking it. And we kind of play up as we're playing through the quest. We kind of play up the whole heaven and hell aspect of it too. So it's kind of working out. And then of course you mentioned DDO Players News, which is DDOPlayersNews.com. We do the podcast every Thursday night live. You can listen to it at over on DDOPlayers.com/live. And then you can get the YouTube and podcast version Friday morning. I pulled a page out of your book, and I usually release it right after without much editing anymore. Much easier that way.
Right?
Much
I'll be
easier.
Honest, this show would not be happening anywhere near as much. Like if I had to edit everything, like it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It just takes too long for something
It
that
does.
I'm not being paid to do. That's really just the
know.
end of it.
I get you.
So
I get you.
Like, put this in perspective. Every hour I'm doing the show is time I would otherwise be able to do things like play DDO and stuff like that, right? So
exactly. It's like, don't get me wrong, I love doing the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it, but it's a lot of work to edit it. So, I still do some slight editing, but nothing like I used to.
Yeah, no, occasionally I'll do things like edit out doorbell rings and stuff like that.
Which you're gonna have to do for mine, apparently.
Do I need to? I mean,
Well.
Anyways.
Yeah,
you can eat up a lot of time. Although I've gotten the editing software. I used to use Windows Movie Maker, and then I upgraded my computer, and anytime I had to edit stuff, and now I use Shotcut because I think Windows Movie Maker was discontinued or something. I don't know. I couldn't get it. I couldn't find it. And Shotcut's actually a lot better. But I had to train myself how to use that, which wasn't too hard. But and I'm a fairly intuitive learner. But you can still end up going down a huge rabbit hole of editing, especially if you're trying to take out all the ums, oohs, ahs. And stuff like that, like it can just take a long time, time.
Yep.
So instead, I go by it's a live show, so the people who are listening to this recording should get a live experience. With all of the technical failures and operator errors that come with all of that, right?
You get the good stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I'll still take out like really bad stuff and things like that, but yeah, and hopefully the show is better for it, or at least the show happens for it. So there you go. All right, let's move on here. We're gonna talk a little bit about Gencon, which is coming up in how many days?
Oh wow!
You don't have this memorized?
3 weeks. No, I don't have it memorized, but if you give me a second, I can
tell
you exactly.
That countdown timer's not in your head or anything? You don't
No, it's not in my head. It's just over on my side. I gotta go look. Let me see. 17 days, 16 hours, 3 minutes,
there we go.
And 3 seconds. There you go.
You keep it there so you don't have to hold it in your head, right? Makes it easier.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So we're just gonna have a little bit of some people don't really know what Gen Con is, so we're just gonna go through Gen Con, do a little primer for this year. So Drac, uh, let's say that people have been living in a cave for 20 years. They don't know what Gen Con is. What is Gen Con? Give us a flyby of what this thing is.
The elevator explanation pitch of Gen Con, it is the largest tabletop gaming convention in North America. And when I say largest, that is in terms of both the people that go to it and the number of events you can attend while you're there. If you play any style of game, you can find that game to play at Gen Con, be it pen and paper RPGs, be it board games, card games. If you like miniature war games, if you like old style war games, if you like to live action role play, if you like collectible card games, or if you're into strategy games, you can play it at Gen Con. You can even go play World of Warcraft at Gen Con if you want. They have a section set up so you can play
Mm.
Warcraft at Gen Con. Why you would want to do that, I don't know.
I mean, it's a
The
game. People like it, right?
the video game side of it has grown a lot in the past couple of years. So yes, you there's always like a League of Legends tournaments going on there. There's other, I think there's I can't Fortnite. I was gonna say, why can't I think of that big game? They have a tournament there as well too. So you can just sum Gen Con up as 4 days of gaming. Any type of gaming you can imagine, that's what Gen Con is.
And it's in.
Indianapolis, Indiana.
And to give you an idea of size, they have to use the football stadium now.
Yes, if you're familiar with where the Indianapolis Colts play, you can go to Gen Con and play a game on the football field if you would like. Because yes, Gen Con has got that big. Last year was 67,000 plus attended.
It doesn't really feel like that many, but I mean it's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people I mean, Indianapolis is a pretty big town, and Gen Con takes up all of Indianapolis.
Mhm.
So that kind of helps that it's spread out a little bit. But yeah, that's a heck of a lot of people.
To put that somewhat in perspective, at least I mean this may have changed because this information is almost 15 years old. I think it is about 15 years old. That there is no place west of St. Louis or the Mississippi, that kind of area, that can actually take on a convention of that size other than I think Comic Con.
Yeah.
Which I think back then that wasn't even true, because you think about like having another. And here's the thing too: when you're talking about bringing in 67,000 people to attend, that doesn't include all the support people and like the vendors and stuff. I'm assuming.
Right. That's just
So
attendance. Yeah. So
yeah,
and just a little quick history of Gen Con, if you just kind of want to know. It was started by Gary Gygax, of course, who created D&D. The first Gen Con was in 1967 at his house. Just had a couple of his buddies over, 12 people. So you can see how much it's grown since 1967.
is 12 people even a con? I feel
Well,
like if someone
according to
said,
Gary
"Hey,
Gygax,
first
it
year of a
was.
con, there's 12 people," we'd be like, "Oh, that's cute. That's not a con. Come back to us when you
That's
get
cute.
it."
Yeah, but of course, it was in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and then the next year he moved it to the Horticultural Hall there in Lake Geneva, and it was held there for the next several years, and then it moved around Wisconsin, and then it moved to Indy, and it's been in Indy since 2003 is when it started.
Yeah, they're gonna hang on to that as much as they can. That's probably
They're
paying.
trying.
They should.
Yeah.
Conventions
Oh
are a
yeah.
big moneymaker for a city. Like that's a big business.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I
so
forgot. I'd have to look up the stats, but what the city says it brings in every year, it's
oh
like
yeah, no, it's
staggering.
anything the city is making money off it. Plus, you're talking about all the people who work there, all the businesses there bring in money. It's a
Hmm.
there's a reason why conventions are a business and a big deal, and why cities bend over backwards to get them to come there. Um, we've got a couple here in Seattle too, and in fact, we hosted Dota 2 League Championships last couple of years, something like that. We didn't this year because the venue that it was in is being remodeled. Um, but they're big enough. I mean, these things are big enough moneymakers that they're getting somewhat. They're kind of pulling in political stuff too. Of I think Gencon said that they were going to have to reevaluate. There was I don't remember what it was exactly, but there was like a law that Gencon was saying if this law gets passed, we're going to reevaluate whether or not we're going to stay here, right?
Yeah, that
Um,
was a couple years ago.
it's not just, and that's not the only example of that either. There's been
No, that's
other
happened a
things too.
couple
So
other.
yeah,
Yeah, there's been a couple of conventions that's same thing has happened too.
yep. So yay, politics and gaming.
But
All right, let's talk about. So if you've never been to Gen Con, if you don't know what Gen Con is, what can people expect while they're there?
an overwhelming experience. You're going to walk in to the vendor hall, and you're going to see just as far as you can see. You're going to see a swarm of people, and then you're going to see every game known to man. You can game 24 hours at Gen Con. There are events that happen 24 hours a day. So if you're a late night sleeper, so let's say you usually stay up till 3 in the morning or whatever, I guarantee you're going to find events that are going to start at midnight or 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. Or you can just probably walk around and find some people to play a game with if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, we highly recommend you get some sleep every
Yes,
night.
yeah, exactly. But please don't stay up 24
Yeah.
hours a day in game. That's very, very bad for you.
Also,
But
it makes you please get 3 hours of sleep, eat 2 meals, and take one shower every day. Uh,
yes,
if you don't
exactly.
feel like you need that, we need you to need that.
Right. For the love of your fellow geeks and gamers, take a shower, people.
Yeah, right. Um, all
I'm
right.
sad every time I have to say that when I talk about Gen Con, but shower, people.
I mean, I think those rules are also true of my industry of as a workplace, right? Like everyone, before you show up to work, I expect you to have had
That's right.
a shower and in the last 24 hours and 3 hours of sleep in the last 24 hours at least, bare minimum. Uh,
Please.
although here sometimes you can just walk outside and get that shower. Anyways, so is there any news this year or big releases or anything that you know about that people might be interested?
Yeah, there is. Gen Con is the second. It's funny. They're the biggest convention, but there is a convention in Germany called Essen. That's where the percentages of the games are announced and comes out. But Gen Con is going to have over 900 new games come out,
It's a lot.
which is crazy to think about that amount of games. But just off the top of my head, there is a couple big games coming out. There is a game called Monster Slaughter that's coming out. That one is pretty highly anticipated. There's another game called Tales of Glory. That's a card drafting card game. That one people are waiting for. Just trying to think off the top of my head what are some other of the big titles, but like I said, over 900 games. If you're familiar with the Board Game Geek website, if you're not, what Board Game Geek is they list. It's like a database of every game that is out or that is coming out. And if you have an account, you can create an account and then you can add games and say, I own this game. I want to buy this game or I'm going to trade this game. But the great thing about Board Game Geek is for like major conventions, they do their Board Game Geek list. and I will give Patrick the link for this, but they have a list of all 900 and plus games that are coming out at Gen Con. It's called the Board Game Geek Gen Con 2019 preview. I will link Patrick X so he can put it in the show notes. And with that, you can go ahead and look and to see. And the other nice thing about what they do is they tell you, is the game going to be for sale there? Or can you just demo it and it'll be out at a later time? Which some of them are like that, but most of the stuff will actually be purchasable at Gen Con. And that is the thing, too. That is another tip, especially for a first timer. If you have your eye on a game, let's say you want, game X from Y board game company. If you know that's going to be for sale, your best bet is to get to their booth as soon as you can when that vendor hall opens, because stuff does sell out and it sells out very, very quickly.
Also,
So
please, you may wish to consider luggage space for the games that you're planning on buying.
that's true. But funnily enough, the convention center conveniently offers FedEx and UPS shipping.
Yeah,
So there's that. But yeah. But
I don't know. You'd probably actually be better off if you waited till you got home and bought it online from
really
a
you
massive
are
conglomerate that's going to ship to you for free in 2 days.
right, and you'll probably get a better price too.
Probably
but,
do.
There's that aspect.
But if you buy it there, you can have the designers and the game people sign it for you.
Right. That's one of the advantages, and that's another thing a first timer can expect. At Gen Con, you can go up to a game company's booth, and you'll probably see the designer and the artist. They'll be there, and you can just go up and talk to them. And as Patrick said, they'll happily sign your game that you bought. Or if you've been a fan of that designer and they've done 5 or 6 other games, and you bring another one of their games, they'll sign that too, even if it's not for the company they're currently with. It's everything is just game centric. Is if it is, as I said earlier, if it's gaming related, you're gonna find it at Gen Con, and you're gonna find a personality of that type of gaming there. Gen Con is also cosplay, so if you like cosplay, you're gonna see a ton of it at Gen Con. Gen Con's kind of known for the cosplay, and they have a really big costume contest every set that happens on Saturday. So that's another big thing. So if you're going to Gen Con one day and you want to see a lot of costumes, Saturday is the day to go for cosplay. That is the big cosplay day. It happens all of the 4 days, but Saturday's the big day for cosplay.
Is there anything specifically that you're looking forward to?
I am. There is a game coming out by a company called Ravensburger. It's called Horrified. It is the Universal monsters, so it's going to be like Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Swamp Thing. It's going to be those monsters, and you're having to gang up to like take those monsters out. I am super excited about that game. I'm actually going to get to demo it Saturday morning, I think, is when I'm doing that, and then I'm also going to interview Ravensburger about it too. So that's my big thing I'm looking forward to.
Universal's not like an underwriting producer on this, right?
No, they just got the rights from them for it, thankfully. I know where you were going with that. And no.
That's good. Yeah, anything else you want to say about Gen Con before we close out the show here?
Just, if you owe it to yourself to go at least once if you're any type of gamer, especially if you're like a board game. It does gear towards the board game end of the spectrum and role play as well. But as I said, video games are there, collectible card games. Just go once if you can, even if it's only for a day. That's fine. And also, every Friday night there is the DDO meetup. It's called Gathering for Buffs. I'm sorry. That usually is. It's some years it's unofficial, other years it's official. I know this year it might be official.
If they can
Jerry
find a
was
space.
still trying to work out the details on
Yeah.
that. So, regardless, it happens. but sometimes it's actually, an official Standing Stone, and there's usually a lot of people from Standing Stone there, even if it's not official. There is. So that happens every Friday night, and that's kind of like a come as you go thing. It usually starts at 7 o'clock. So if you have an event or something, you can just come from 7 to 7:30 and just hang out, meet a bunch of DDO players, meet some of the devs that are there, and just take off. So it's fun. So you can even get your DDO at Gencon. There you go. I tied it all together, Patrick. You're welcome.
It's kind of the inverse of PAX, right? Like PAX is a big video gaming convention, but there's still a lot of board game stuff there, whereas Gen
Right.
Con is really more focused on board games, but there's still a lot of video game stuff there as well. So
Yeah.
But if you're going, have fun. Enjoy the ride. Cons are a fun place to be, especially if you're really into it and stuff like that. All right, we're gonna close out the show. Thanks, Drac, for joining me, especially short notice. And thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast, and to Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast, and to Cybears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, ddocast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. That money just goes to fund the show and fun stuff like prizes and contests and stuff like that. If you're wondering why there's not a lot of contests, it's because there's not a lot of money there. just full disclosure. But we get a couple bucks a month. So, but if you like to support the show, feel free. It's great and it's helpful. If not, don't worry about it. Enjoy the show. We're happy that you get to listen to it. So, if you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. I usually do website work every 3 months and kind of polish stuff up. But hey, if you send me an email, I'll be sure to get anything DDO related on there more quickly than that. You can also hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show or have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media for latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter. It's the best place for me. Drac, where can they find you and DDO Players News?
You can find me on Twitter at Draculetta_72, DDO Players News at DDO Players News. Also, you can follow me on Twitch if you would like. That's at Draculetta_72 as well. DDOplayers.com is the website.
All right. Thanks very much. Until next time, all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.